All right. So the regulation that has to do with keeping the logs of what radio communications or what radio activity you have is contained in section 80 dot 409. The general requirements: logs must be established and properly maintained as follows. The log must be kept in an orderly manner. The log may be kept electronically or in writing. Key letters or abbreviations may be used if their proper meaning or explanation is contained elsewhere in the same log. I know for airplane mechanics, a lot of times we'll use IAC or IAW, in accordance with, and then MM, maintenance manual. So there's a number of abbreviations that are used over and over again. If that's the case, someplace in the log, you should have what they stand for. Sometimes I have to look up some of the text language. It's like, what is SM? I'm not sure what that stands for. I'm skipping 2 for now. It has to do with erasing records. 3, ship station logs must identify the vessel name, country of registry, and official number of the vessel. Number 4, the station licensee and the radio operator in charge of the station are responsible for the maintenance of station logs. So basically, they have a regulation and they give us a test question to see whether or not we're at least somewhat familiar with the regulation. So here's the first test question: who is required to make entries in a required service or maintenance log? And then they give us 4 options. I'm going to launch a poll here so that each one of you can go ahead and give your answer or guess. Options are: A, the license operator. Let's see if I'm going to put this off to the side. Or a person who he or she designates. B, the operator responsible for the station operation or maintenance. C, any commercial radio operator holding at least a restricted radio telephone operator permit. Or D, the technician who actually makes the adjustments to the equipment. Which, if we're in the FARs, the Federal Aviation Regulations, the person who actually does the work is the one who makes the entry. So D isn't totally wrong, but for these purposes, it is. If we go back, who's required to make the records? If we see in number 4, it looks like it's going to be the radio operator and the station licensee. So in this case, I don't see the station licensee, so it looks like it's going to be the operator responsible. So I'm going to go for B. They basically repeated that 4th portion of the section, stating the station licensee and the radio operator in charge of the station are responsible for the maintenance of the station logs. All right, good enough. How did we do here? And poll, share results. Hey, not too bad. Okay, next question. Basically, it's similar. It involves the same section. Who is responsible for the proper maintenance of the station logs? A, the station licensee. Oh, I did see that. B, the commercially licensed radio operator in charge of the station. Kind of saw that too. C, the ship's master and the station licensee. Or D, the station licensee and the radio operator in charge of the station. All right, that was almost exactly the words that we saw. As a matter of fact, they were in section 4. So the station licensee and the radio operator in charge of the station is the correct answer. Let's move on. All right, so basically the same section, a different subsection, 409, station logs. So this is the one a little further down. So we looked at A, now B, availability and retention. Station logs must be available to the authorized commission employees upon request and retained as follows. 2. Logs containing entries required by most of this section must be kept at the principal radio telephone operating location while the vessel is being navigated. And the question is, where must the ship station logs be kept during a voyage? A, at the principal radio telephone operating position. That sounds familiar. B, they must be secured in the vessel's strongbox for safekeeping. C, in the personal custody of the licensed commercial radio operator. Or D, all logs are turned over to the ship's master when the radio operator goes off duty. All right, I think I'm losing us. All right, I got all sorts of answers here. And basically, station logs must be kept at the principal radio operating position during the entire voyage. And we saw that under here. It must be kept at the principal radio telephone operating location while the vessel is being navigated. Okay, continuing on with station logs. Logs must be established and properly maintained as follows. This is the part where we talk about erasing or correcting the logs. Erasures or willful destruction of written logs or deletions of data or willful destruction of computer files or computer hardware containing electronic logs is prohibited during the retention period. And we'll see that the retention period is either 2 or 3 years, how long you actually keep the records. The important ones you keep for 3 years, the less important you keep for 2. Corrections may be made only by the person originating the entry by striking out the error, initialing the correction, and indicating the date of the correction. If it's electronic logs, you basically do it electronically. And the question is, what is the proper procedure for making a correction in the station log? A, the ship's master must be notified, approve, and initial all changes to the station log. B, the mistake may be erased and the correction made and initialed only by the radio operator making the original error. C, the original person making the entry must strike out the error, initial the correction, and indicate the date of the correction. Or D, rewrite the new entry in its entirety directly below the incorrect notation and initial the change. Almost any of them would work, except for erasing. They don't really want you to erase. They want you to strike it out. So B is going to be out of the question. All right, it looks like basically the language of the regulation follows C, so that's going to be the correct answer. The original person making the entry must strike out the error, initial the correction, and indicate the date of the correction. And a little bit more in the same section. Station logs must be made available to authorized commission employees. And we said that already, but we looked at 2. Now we're going to look at 1. And this is the retention period. How long do I have to keep the records? Logs must be retained by the licensee for a period of 2 years from the date of entry, and when applicable, for such additional periods as required by the following paragraphs. And the only paragraph that really applies is the first one, which is logs relating to a distress situation or disaster must be retained for 3 years from the date of entry. And the question is, how long should station logs be retained when there are entries relating to distress or disaster situations? A, until authorized by the commission in writing to destroy them. B, for a period of, and you're never going to get the commission to give you a writing authorizing something like that. B, for a period of 3 years from the last date of entry, unless notified by the FCC. I kind of like that one. C, indefinitely, or until destruction is specifically authorized by the U.S. Coast Guard. Or D, for a period of 1 year from the last date of entry. And it looks like everybody got that one right. 3 years for disaster or distress type situations. So B. Yes, we all got that one right. How long should station logs be retained when there are no entries relating to distress or disaster situations? The options are for a period of 3 years from the last date of entry unless notified by the FCC. That was disaster or distress. B, until authorized by the commission in writing to destroy them. Excuse me. C, which already a few people answered, so 3 answered now. So that's probably the right answer. For a period of 2 years from the last date of entry, that is what we have all answered. Indefinitely, basically the same options that were in the last one. So if there are no entries relating to distress or disaster, it is 2 years from the date of the last entry. The log should also include any changes of your radio station equipment. If you switch the old antenna for a new one, note this in the log. If your vessel is inspected, have the radio inspector note this in the log. No longer are you required to list each and every radio transmission. Okay, now end poll, share the results. Stop share. Is that it? Looks like it's question 6. It is. So basically there's another question. It's going to be one of those 6 questions.